The Vikings who settled in Ireland settled largely in the towns such as Dublin, Waterford, Wexford, Limerick and Cork. They never at any stage formed a particularly large proportion of the population, and by the 10th century they had integrated by and large with the local population. And these people that are of mixed Irish and Scandinavian origin we know as Hiberno-Norse. They settled in the towns. They had at that stage, by the 10th century, established trading networks with Britain, with the continent and with Scandinavia, and therefore they had a disproportionate influence on economic and artistic life in Ireland at the time. Artistically, their influence didn't really show in terms of the Scandinavian art styles until the 11th and into the 12th centuries, by which stage, as I said, they had become Christian, and the two most influential Viking art styles of the period are the late Viking art styles known as the Ringerike and the Uranus style. The Ringerike style becoming popular in Denmark particularly, and then in England through the Danish king Knut, and through England to Ireland, probably through Dublin. This is represented by a number of objects, wooden objects from the Dublin excavations, but particularly by a number of important ecclesiastical objects such as the Crozier of Clonmacnoise here, which on the crook, which is the curved top of the object, has an inlaid pattern of interlaced snakes in the Ringerike style. These are slightly abstract animals with their bodies crossing over one another in interlaced knots with foliage motifs of curves and spirals at the end. This is a shrine to enclose a book known as the Kahok, a manuscript believed to have been made by St. Columba himself. It was made probably in Kells, and what is its significance is that it has an inscription which names a number of individuals, which allows us to date it to around about 1060, between 1060 and 1090. It also contains the name of the craftsman who made it, a man called Citric Mac Magay. What is significant there is that his first name is Scandinavian and the second name is Irish, so he's obviously of mixed Irish and Scandinavian ancestry. And then if we look at the decoration of the 11th century portion of the shrine, on the narrow ends, you see a panel at the end consisting of two back-to-back figure of 8 animals with tightly interlaced ornament, and also curled foliage extensions, which are typical of the Viking Ringerike style, an Irish version of the Irish Ringerike style. What is even more interesting is that in the course of the Dublin excavations at High Street in Dublin in the 1960s, a bone trialer motif piece was found, a small piece of animal bone carved with an almost identical pattern of back-to-back animals found in an 11th century level, and probably of the same style as that found here on the Kahok. After the Ringerike style, the most popular style then that came into Ireland was the Uranus style towards the end of the 11th century, and this is best exemplified by the Cross of Cong here, which dates to the first quarter of the 12th century. The Cross of Cong was a processional cross which was made to contain a relic of the True Cross brought to Ireland in the year 1123. It was commissioned by the High King of Ireland at the time, Thurlough O'Connor, and the relic would originally have been visible inside the rock crystal at the centre of the cross. What is of interest in this particular case is that the Cross of Cong is probably the best example in metalwork of the late Viking art style known as the Uranus Art Style. Unlike the earlier Ringerike style, the Uranus style does not use the same plant motifs, but is based largely on this great beast motif of a large, thick-bodied animal in combat, if you like, with one or more snakes. This is seen here on the front of the Cross of Cong in the individual panels, where you see one or more large animals interlaced with thin wire-like snakes, this symbolizing, if you like, the struggle between good and evil, which would be appropriate for an object of this type. The Irish version of the Uranus style differs from that in Scandinavia in that it is far more disciplined and far more symmetrical. The arrangement of the curves of the thin-bodied snakes is much more symmetrical, often around a central point. The best example of this is probably to be found on the sides of the Shrine of St. Patrick's Bell, which dates to around about the year 1100.